So that brings us to our next subject, which is very, very interesting. Kind of out in left field, kind of random a little bit. So Justin Lin, the director of Fast and Furious, came out and said that a Fast and Furious Jurassic World crossover is possible. He's open to that prospect, that possibility. Dre, what are your thoughts on Justin Lin's comments in regards to this crossover between Fast and Furious and Jurassic World?
So this is really interesting for me because from kind of a wide range of perspectives here, it sounds outlandish. Just the prospect on itself. It's like, really, two franchises together in this way? But honestly, it's not really that crazy.
Yep.
I don't know. I have you seen the 21-22 Jump Street series with Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum?
I saw the first one.
So the first one, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good because the second one is just making fun of the fact that they're doing it again. Okay. So it's very much in line, but it's more self-aware. It's like, hey, wait a minute, haven't we done this before? And that's kind of the joke, right? That they're kind of redoing what they did before. But in line with that, and if you share the screen here, I can show you what I'm talking about. So let's see. Yep. If you see on screen there, during the ending credits, because they are kind of making these jokes over and over again, they had this premise where it's like, oh, okay, where can we go next? Where can we take this idea? Now we were these undercover narcotics officers that were in high school number 1, college number 2, we could take this show on the road kind of thing. And so they have all of these concepts in all of these different machinations. So you see their military school, culinary school. It's very, very funny. And then
scuba class. I love that, man. That's
scuba
great.
class. And then you go to the next one. And it's hilarious. So dance school, all of that. But then you get to the last two. And the last two is very interesting because the middle one there on the right is looking kind of like something from the Three Amigos,
right?
And then beyond that, it almost looks like a Top Gun parody.
Right.
And I think a producer had sort of a wacky idea. Hey, that's a great idea. Why don't we take if we were to do a 23 Jump Street, obviously it would be played out, but you could bring new relevance to it if you mix it with another franchise.
Right.
And the other franchise that they thought of was this guy.
Oh, okay.
So the idea was, okay, well, if they're doing undercover drug operations, what if they go, undercover in this kind of Men in Black, not realizing what they really do, and then they get engrossed in the world and so forth. It was a great premise, a really kind of funny thing that would have brought new relevancy to both franchises. And I think they were associations close enough to pull this off. I think they spoke to the same audience demographics. I think they kind of have one's more self-aware, obviously, and one's more parody, whereas the other is kind of a comedy, but it takes itself a little bit more serious. And that was one of the reasons that the project was derailed, was they couldn't get over those features. But I think it would have really, really worked, and it sounded kind of like an incredible idea. But now this brings us over to this guy. And it doesn't quite mesh as well. Like, when I heard about this, I'm like, what? It's just like, it's bizarre.
It is.
And it speaks to, Fast and Furious. I got to put this out there. It's kind of a guilty pleasure of mine, really. Right. I kind of I am actually a fan of the first one and the fifth one, a genuine fan. But the rest of them I kind of understood what for what they were. Right, they were kind of dumb action movies, and they're kind of doing insane stuff. But it's just kind of, even for me, who's just like, I'm not like in love with this franchise, but I do watch them. they've gone really downhill, especially with the last couple of installments. And it looks like number 9 that's coming out, which is insane, is going to be of that ilk.
Well, number 9, from what I understand, they're going to outer space, right? Am I right on that?
Yes, there is a scene. There is a scene where Tej and what's his name, Tyrese, whatever his character is, they go into like space. They go into like the upper atmosphere, but I don't know, man. So it's already whacked out. It's already played out. How do you bring more relevance to it? Well, you inject another franchise into it, and that's what brings us to Jurassic World.
Well, here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
When I first heard it, I'm like, this is bullshit. This is not going to happen ever, because I think it would be hard to get Steven Spielberg on board with this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But aside from that, I started to think about it a little more, and I'm like, well, like Universal, because I believe both of these are Universal.
Mm-hmm.
Universal has sort of always been known for this kind of, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way at all. They're kind of obnoxious. They're bombastic. It's explosions and dinosaurs, and it's in your face.
Mm-hmm.
I could see this being on brand for Universal. I can see this. It's so out there and so bombastic and so crazy. It might actually work in a weird way for this particular brand, this studio. I don't know. I mean, and I think, look, I don't really I'm kind of with you. I think the Fast and Furious franchise has completely gone downhill. I haven't really, to be honest with you, haven't seen one since I think Tokyo Drift or something. And now they're up to 9. And that was number 3, I think. I don't even really watch the movies.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, if they made this movie, I think the curiosity factor alone would get me in the theater. I really do.
You just like the dinosaurs. Yeah. I mean, look, how do you are we going to really go Fast and Furious 10 and 11 without changing it up at least somewhat? I mean, You're going to have to do stuff like this. I would suppose if you're going to get more, traction out of that franchise. This is what is weird to me because, yes, Fast and Furious is so whacked out and crazy. This just might work for that franchise. And I guess you could say the same for Jurassic World, but I guess my thing is aren't these two separate demographics, separate audiences?
That's true.
It's kind of like, Fast and the Furious is kind of, very youth oriented and kind of the kind of cool guys movie almost, and Jurassic World's very much kind of nerd culture. So it's
right.
It's a little bit oil and water that way for me. From what I understand, these two movies, though, they do great in China, so they've got the Asian market all locked down from what I understand. If you go in the article, it sounds like to me that this was some journalists will do this where they'll ask a question on a particular topic on a very specific issue. That person, the interviewee, will comment on that issue. And when they write the headline tomorrow, it's like, oh, so-and-so makes, this comment about this. And it's like, it's almost like they're spouting off stuff when in reality, they're just responding to a question.
Right.
That kind of thing. This feels like that.
Right, exactly. For example, if a reporter were to ask a director, and I'm not saying Justin Lin in particular, I'm just kind of giving you a generality. If a reporter were to ask, a director a question like, would you be willing, if approached, to do this crossover? Are you open to it? And of course the director is going to be like, yeah, I'd be open to it, because they don't want to burn bridges in their own industry and just be like, oh, no way, I would never work with that friend. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I kind of get that feeling to your point, that's kind of what's happening here. He's down for it. He's open to it. But is he really I think it's kind of, you know what I'm saying? The question, mm-hmm. and he doesn't want to say, well, no, absolutely not. Because it's kind of insulting then to the team that worked on the Jurassic Park movies. Right.
Right.
So, will it happen? Probably not. I can't see Steven Spielberg signing on for this. But
listen, it's just, I can't see it. Even though Universal, I believe, has the exclusive rights. I know Steven Spielberg has some creative control, but from what I understand, Universal has the rights locked down. I mean, they could do it if people wanted to, but I mean, with the 22 Jump Street and Men in Black thing, those were the same studios for there, and that didn't work out. So we'll see, but it's an interesting idea. Very interesting for sure.
Definitely.